From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
A new price tag for safety. Governor Doug Ducey announces new measures to enhance border security.
Phoenix has some of the unhealthiest air in the country, and parents are sick of it. The playdate at the U.S. Capitol to clear the skies.
And the Arizona State University High School Summer Program, helping young adults paint a future that includes higher education.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Maya Petros.
And I'm Sam Hoyle. Thank you so much for joining us. Governor Doug Ducey announced today that the Arizona Border Strike Force will receive more funding in the 2019 fiscal year budget.
Reporter Gabriela Becerra tells us why the government plans to continue putting money into this program.
Since the Arizona Border Strike Force was established in 2015, Governor Doug Ducey says this organization has seized over 60,000 pounds of marijuana, 295 firearms, 173,000 rounds of ammunition, 15.6 million hits of heroin, and enough fentanyl to kill more than 11 million Americans. Because of these results, Ducey says the force was prioritized in the state budget.
These are exceptional results, and we want to see more of them.
The Arizona Border Strike Force will receive $2.9 million from the state budget, adding 12 state troopers. Chief Patrol Agent of the U.S. Border Patrol Tucson Sector, Rodolfo Karish, says he has seen the consequences of an unsafe border, and individual agencies cannot take on this crime alone.
The scope and complexity of these criminal organizations operating along the Arizona-Mexico border requires a united front at the federal, state, local, and tribal level.
Pima County Sheriff Mark Napier says he estimates about 40% of the drugs in this nation come through his county at some point.
Make no mistake, this is about transnational crime. This is about a public health emergency to our state and to our nation with the opioid crisis.
Cochise County Sheriff Mark Daniel says his county has made a difference in the security of the border through the Zero Tolerance program.
Over the last year, we've sent a strong message to the cartel. Smuggling in Cochise County and Arizona will not be tolerated.
With all of this, our message to drug cartels and human traffickers is loud and clear. The people of Arizona have had enough. We will find you, we will stop you, and we will bring you to justice.
Governor Doug Ducey says this funding will begin to come through this month, bringing the Arizona Border Strike Force closer to achieving their goal of 24/7 coverage. In the broadcast center, Gabriela Becerra, Cronkite News.
The three Democrats challenging Governor Ducey in November debated in Scottsdale Tuesday night, each focusing on immigration. State Senator Steve Farley, as well as candidate David Garcia, said that they would resist President Trump's effort to build a border wall. Meanwhile, candidate Kelly Fryer says she would work for border demilitarization. All three of the Democratic candidates have said that they would withdraw the National Guard from the border.
New details on immigration tonight. Migrants attempting to seek asylum at the U.S.-Mexico border often arrive with evidence in hand. The evidence includes audio recordings, photos of crime scenes, police paperwork, and sometimes medical examiner records. Immigrant families hope these items show authorities the dangers they're trying to escape. A Honduran immigrant was reunited with his son at Sky Harbor Airport after they were separated at the border. When Josue Rodriguez was reunited with his 3-year-old son, the boy asked his father, "Where were you? I missed you." The Trump administration's court-ordered deadline to reunite children under the age of 5 with their parents has been pushed back. Children are currently being loaded onto buses in Arizona and Texas to apparently be taken to their parents. So far, the Health and Human Services Secretary says 38 of the 102 children should be back with their families today.
Vice President Mike Pence weighed in on the topic of family separation today and the consequences of entering the country illegally. Pence says that reuniting children with their parents is a priority, but also says, that it's important to approach reunification carefully.
Of course, there's a plan. Look, we've got a crisis at our southern border. And when people come into this country illegally, as was the case under the Obama administration, at times when we prosecute people for entering our country illegally, they're separated from their children for a period of time. Those children are dispatched to relatives or to foster care, and we know where they are, and there's a plan to reunite them. But we want to do it in a way that's very careful and very thoughtful.
President Trump signed an executive order to establish an interagency task force to battle fraud. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein says the task force will help protect both American consumers and the government.
The task force will combat will focus on combating fraud against consumers, particularly the elderly, service members, and veterans, as well as corporate fraud that victimizes the general public and the government.
The task force, which will be led by the Justice Department, will conduct fraud investigations on financial crime areas, including money laundering, digital currency, securities and commodities, healthcare, and more.
4 cities competing to win $5 million this August. Their goal, to solve the city's toughest problems in innovative ways. Reporter Amanda Mason attended their first workshop where businesses were invited to give feedback on the heat-ready proposal that will be submitted for the Bloomberg Challenge.
The Bloomberg Philanthropies 2018 Mayor's Challenge is designed to help cities find ways to solve their most urgent problems. And the city of Phoenix has chosen extreme heat.
We're creating a program called Heat Ready that would give cities a guide, a blueprint, if you will, for how to take on heat.
Extreme heat is not only a state issue, but causes more deaths than any other type of natural disaster, according to the Center for Climate Change and Health. The workshop is hosted by the Center for Climate and Energy Solutions, a think tank nonprofit, the City of Phoenix, and ASU. Businesses, big and small, were invited to help shape the heat-ready proposal through discussions and hypothetical problem solving.
Phoenix is already the hottest major city in the U.S., but other cities are getting hotter and hotter every day.
We see ourselves as the extreme example, and we will create a plan for ourselves and a roadmap for ourselves that other cities could take as an example and use it, because heat is different everywhere.
And extreme heat is relative. 95 isn't a big deal here in Phoenix, but in Maine, 95 can be very deadly.
Lawson says if we don't take action now, we could be facing some severe consequences. According to the temperature data collected by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, by year 2040, Maricopa County could have an entire month or two of 105-degree temperatures and above. But by year 2090, we could see 4 or 5 months of 105-degree temperatures or higher.
It's a very unique experience because, you know, the Mayor's Challenge of Cities is to identify a great problem and find creative solutions. Well, no one's ever tackled heat. So this is a really unique opportunity for us to tackle something new and different that's really going to impact more cities as time goes by.
The winner of the grant will receive $5 million and will be announced in October. Now, the other 4 top cities will receive $1 million. In downtown Phoenix, Amanda Mason, Cronkite News.
Well, summer is the perfect time for students to unwind and prepare for their next school year.
But these high school students are preparing for something a little further in the future with help from ASU. Coming up, the summer program helping students create a brighter future.
And later, parents sometimes have to clean up after their kids, but these moms are taking the job of trying to clean up the entire atmosphere.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland, in Washington, in Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia.
From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. The 2018 election season has arrived. Join us for primary and general election debates. Right here, meet the candidates and hear their positions. Arizona Horizon, your source for what matters most this election season. Only on Arizona PBS.
millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
2 Arizona State University professors put together a week-long camp that gives Native American high schoolers a taste of college life. Reporter Emily Richardson spoke with the founders of the Native American Summer Arts Workshop about how this program is making a difference.
Jacob Metters is a member of the Machupta Indian tribe of Chico Ranchero, California. He is also a local artist and professor at ASU, and says when he was in school, a program like his Summer Arts Workshop could have helped him.
I was a young Native student who didn't have a mentorship and didn't have really anybody that was around me that could kind of show me the way to get into college, to get into an art program. And the resources that were in school tended to be not geared to help me.
The Native American Summer Arts Workshop allows high schoolers from Arizona tribes to live in the dorms, eat in the dining halls, and take courses as if they were in college. But to Jacob Metters, what makes the program stand out is the relationships between the students and staff.
We offered all of them a mentorship as well, so if they want to pursue college in the arts, we're there. If they want to pursue college, we're there.
This isn't just a week of college experience for the students, but the relationships they develop here will be one that lasts into the future.
According to a report from UCLA and Penn State, Indigenous students have a higher dropout rate than any other ethnicity. The founders believe creating relationships with the Native American tribes and helping increase the number of students who seek higher education is a good way to honor their communities.
This is something that the state of Arizona, through its educational institutions, can do to build a strong relationship with those tribes, to build goodwill with those tribes, to help them to succeed on their own terms in the future.
I think sometimes the little things have a great effect, and you know, maybe this inspires another school, another program to do something similar. That would be cool. You know, ASU doesn't have to do it all.
Metters also believes that an important part in helping fix the education crisis that Indigenous communities face is for all people to be taught the history of their communities. Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
The U.S.-China trade war escalated further today as the U.S. ambassador to the World Trade Organization said that Chinese industrial policies harm other countries and called for a change in rules to manage complaints made surrounding the policies. The U.S. is not alone in calling for rule reformation surrounding industrial policy and state-owned industry. Multiple European countries have also requested the same. Beyond the WTO demands, the Trump administration is gearing up to deal another round of tariffs to China. A list of more goods facing 10% tariffs was released on Tuesday and includes foods like fruits, vegetables, and seafood. The list also included textile items like yarn and wool. Also on the list, rain jackets and baseball gloves. A $34 billion round of tariffs was released on Friday, to which China responded with their own tariffs on U.S. goods worth the same amount. Last month, President Trump told the U.S. Trade Representative to find $200 billion worth of Chinese goods to tariff as a means of punishment should China retaliate against the penalties the U.S. established for intellectual property theft.
Rail traffic officially resumed today after a train derailed just outside of Tucson on the main freight route that runs between Texas and California. Union Pacific says running water was on the tracks when safety officials arrived. The cause of the accident is still being investigated. Union Pacific says nearly 30 freight cars derailed. No injuries have been reported. Well, Phoenix has some of the dirtiest air in the country.
Pollution advisories are common this time of year, and Phoenix moms are taking to the Capitol to make a change. Coming up on Cronkite News, a play date at the U.S. Capitol to try and clean up Phoenix air.
And we've been experiencing some precipitation and high humidity. Find out if this will die off soon, coming up.
Cronkite News, weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
If you're looking for one show that tells you what happened that day in the world of business, it's NBR.
We saw a classic shipwreck.
Nordstrom's opening stores.
Triple-digit gains.
Crude climbs.
We're there to help our audience find new investment ideas.
The market still has room to go up.
Nightly Business Report is the longest-running business television program in history.
Weeknights at 10:30 on Arizona PBS.
Another pollution advisory has been issued today for ozone levels in the Metro Phoenix area. The ozone levels are expected to exceed federal health standards for air quality.
Now, those with respiratory problems are advised to stay inside as much as possible today, as the air quality could agitate existing conditions. If you're traveling around the city, environmental regulators encourage carpooling, public transportation, and driving only if absolutely necessary. Now, today, Phoenix moms took the fight against this unhealthy air to the nation's capital.
Danny Coble has more from our Washington bureau.
Today, children gather in front of the Capitol to play outside, but moms here say this isn't how it looks every day in their hometown.
Sometimes I can, like my kids cannot go outside because every year is hotter and hotter and hotter in Arizona.
Arizona mother Claudia Fedor was here with the Moms Clean Air Force, mothers from across the country who were here to push lawmakers to continue the fight against air pollution, especially in low-income communities.
And we want to change. We want them to take care of especially our low-income communities, because we are the most affected by pollution.
That claim was backed up earlier this year when a team of scientists at the Environmental Protection Agency published a report that found proof that minorities and the poor were more affected by pollution. Fedor says that Latinos like her live in these areas because this is what they can afford.
Latino communities tend to live close to the freeways and also close to the factories because it's cheaper that way. We look for more economic ways to live, and my community choose that.
But the moms here today say that it shouldn't matter where you live. They called on members of Congress to keep fighting for climate issues so that they can leave behind a healthy and clean air future for their children.
A lot of our kids are getting sick every day, and we don't know why, what causes. But I'm not a doctor. I'm a mom worried for my kids.
This is the 5th time Moms for Clean Air Force has organized the plan. Afterwards, they will head to the Capitol to talk with their lawmakers about the importance of climate change. At Capitol Hill, Danny Coble, Cronkite News.
With all this talk surrounding pollution, how is it affecting our weather this week?
Well, Lauren Sheeler is in today with our full weather report.
So we're currently sitting at 98 degrees here in Phoenix. It's not quite triple digits, so it might not sound too bad compared to what we've been experiencing, but it's that high humidity, all thanks to the monsoon, that's just really not going to help us out. And if you get the chance to step outside, you'll notice that our temperatures across the valley are actually going to feel closer to 100 degrees here in Phoenix, 95 out east in Mesa, 84 down out in Florence, 98 up in Scottsdale, and 107 up in Surprise. And monsoon has unfortunately only just begun. What this means is a whole lot of precipitation for the entirety of our state. And you can see that Phoenix, if you take a look at our hour-by-hour forecast, it should be pretty much cleared out by tomorrow morning, but then there is a flash flood warning across the entire valley in place until tomorrow afternoon. And then we'll pass along the precipitation up north. Places like Flagstaff, the Grand Canyon, even Kingman could get hit with some heavy isolated showers come Friday afternoon. But what does your evening look like here in Phoenix? We're hoping to shake off some of that last-minute precipitation we're hoping to get rid of. Your rain's going to continue to follow you into your evening, but then your lows will drop to those low mid 80s by 9 p.m. Same goes for 11 p.m. And if you're not the biggest fan of the rain, but you don't mind the clouds, you might like what you're about to see. Lots of cloudy days in store for your weekend. Our high is going to stick around 100 for Friday and Saturday, continuing lots of cloud coverage still ahead, climbing a little bit in our highs, 104 on Tuesday, 105 in Wednesday, but again, lots of clouds to hopefully relieve you from some of that heat. For Cronkite Weather, I'm Lauren Sheeler.
Fire restrictions in northern Arizona were officially lifted today. Coconino National Forest says all restrictions and area closures are lifted, while Kaibab National Forest still has a few restrictions in place. Those include forest areas south of the Grand Canyon. Kaibab's northern areas will remain under restrictions since they haven't received as much rainfall this monsoon season. Well, the University of Arizona is home to a unique degree program with an alum that has current students' hearts racing.
Before he was the 2018 Triple Crown winner, Bob Baffert had to use more than a lucky horseshoe to achieve his dreams. Coming up next, we'll show you just how much hard work and determination it takes to reach the finish line.
I like working for Cronkite News because it gives us the opportunity to find a different angle on the same stories that every other news outlet is covering across Arizona. As students, we have the opportunity to cover issues in all across the state of Arizona.
It gives me a good chance to sharpen my skills, improve my skills, learn the techniques in a newsroom and in the programs and teamwork and technology, getting me prepared for the real world. And at the same time, I think we do a great job, make some great stories, do great journalism for the city of Phoenix and the state of Arizona.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
Exploring, it's the lifeblood of the mission.
Human beings are a curious bunch.
What are we going to see when we get really close?
Just because an idea is crazy, it's not necessarily wrong.
We were on our way.
You don't get anywhere until you've tested the limits.
That carries an intensity you can't imagine.
You could hear people just, whoa.
Oh my God, absolutely spectacular.
It's a rush. We ask a lot of our heroes.
We are at a remarkable moment.
We're going farther than any exploration ever has.
Triple Crown winner Bob Baffert is an alum of the University of Arizona's racetrack industry program, but his success stems from far more than his education.
Our reporter Stephanie Shields traveled down to the border to learn more about how Bob Baffert's hometown inspired his career.
The legendary horse trainer Bob Baffert now has 2 Triple Crown wins under his belt, but Baffert appreciates his humble beginnings before he was established in the horse racing industry and started on the border town of Nogales, Arizona.
From the border to the Belmont Stakes, Bob Baffert's childhood sparked his passion in what would become a legendary career. But each of Baffert's achievements in the horse racing industry stem from the way he was raised on his family ranch in Nogales, Arizona.
You know, when you grow up with that, you become an animal lover, and that's when I fell in love with just being outdoor all the time and being with the horses.
The Baffert Ranch started with selling chicken eggs to local grocery stores, then followed with Black Angus cattle. But Bob and his father, Bill Baffert Sr., shared the hobby of training horses. When Bob was 10, he started racing horses for his father at the Santa Cruz Fairgrounds in Sonoita.
A lot of people go on and go somewhere and they don't ever look back. They don't ever look back and say, oh, well, this is where I got my start. You know, he's not one of those guys. He remembers where he got his start.
Before Bob Baffert became a 2-time Triple Crown winner, he got his start here at the family ranch in Nogales, Arizona. He and his father built a straightaway 400-yard racetrack right here in these pastures.
He was a good trainer from the very beginning because he'd been around my dad for all those years. And
Despite the large success Baffert has seen in the industry, he keeps a close relationship with his siblings and stays in touch with people who helped him along the way.
It's hard to imagine coming from Nogales that this was how it would end up.
Bob Baffert and his family continue to look back with pride on the way they grew up on the border and the family ranch. The Baffert Ranch is still operational today with Bob's brother Bill managing it. The family says the ranch in Nogales will always remain a place they can go back to no matter what. The next race for Bob's horse and Belmont Stakes winner Justify remains to be announced. In the broadcast center, Stephanie Shields, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, it's a clean elections debate. Hear from the two candidates running in the Republican primary for state treasurer. A clean elections debate on the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, we are on the ground in Brussels amid heightened tensions as President Trump meets European allies. That's Wednesday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.